Hi, and welcome back to SOS Stories of Survivors. I'm your host, Serena Dansker, and today it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Kristen Cook. Kristen is a mom whose love took an extraordinary path. Her son was born needing a kidney, and luckily, he received a life-saving donation. And along the way, Kristen decided to become a donor. And years later, she got the opportunity to also save someone's life. What an extraordinary path. And she's going to talk about that. But more than that, today, Kristen works for Lyra. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Lyra, but they are all over the workplaces and corporations. And she's a licensed clinical social worker, but she's currently helping bring compassion and mental health into workplaces. And we'll talk all about that and the help that she's able to give employees through her company, Lyra. And without further ado, Kristen, welcome to SOS Stories of Survivors.
Thank you so much, Serena. I really appreciate you having me. It's been lovely getting to know you, and I'm excited to talk today.
Yes, this is great. So, for our listeners meeting you for the first time, I just want to talk about who you are today and beyond titles and roles, the person you are from the journey you've been on. Um, you want to just share a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I would say number one, I'm a mom and I'm an advocate for my son, and I would say I'm also an advocate for kidney donor, being a kidney donor, and also an advocate for mental health. I have gone through mental health struggles myself. I have worked as a therapist, and I have worked at an organization that's bringing life-changing mental health care to organizations, which is Lyra. So those are all an important part of my life.
And it's so needed. It's about time that their companies are realizing we need to change the stigma around mental health and that it's just as important as physical health care out there. And I'm so grateful that you're doing that. Um, I'm going to ask you to take us back to the beginning of your journey when maybe the moment you learned when your son would need a kidney. What do you remember about that time of your life?
Sure. No, thanks for asking that. So, actually, when I was pregnant, we found out that there was an issue in utero, and I live in Chicago. I'm from Connecticut originally, and my mom happened to be visiting, and she wanted to ask the doctor if they would do an ultrasound. It actually wasn't the time to do that. It should have been done a few weeks later. But the doctor said, sure, I'll do it for grandma. And so we had the ultrasound, and we ended up finding out at just about 16 weeks, I think it was, that my son's bladder was almost the entirety of his abdomen. We didn't even really know what we were looking at the time. And we were basically given three choices at that point. I'm taking some of the story out for the sake of time, but we were given three choices, one of which was um, termination of the pregnancy because they did not think that the pregnancy was going to be viable. The two was an in utero operation through me to the baby that was only performed in three different hospitals across the US, none of which were in Chicago, of course. And then the third was to do nothing, which they highly recommended we not do. So I had to do a bunch of tests and things, including the amniocentesis, in order to even be a candidate for the in utero surgery. And then a couple of weeks later, miraculously, no one understands why, my son's bladder ended up relieving itself. So
Wow.
when that happened, though, and again, no one understood why, like multiple doctors were like, we don't know why this happened. We didn't expect this to happen. Because they wanted to monitor me first before I did that surgery that I just talked about, where they would have put a stent in order to relieve the bladder. But the lower urinary tract obstruction did relieve itself. No one knows why. And then it did cause, though, irreversible damage to his kidneys. Basically, and this is very rudimentary, but it's the urethra, then the bladder, then the ureters up to the kidneys. And because his bladder was enlarged, that was causing backup through the ureters into his kidneys. And at that important time in development, that meant that his kidneys did not grow and develop in the same way that they needed to. So I had a million ultrasounds, was at maternal fetal medicine for the rest of my pregnancy, lots of oversight, and we weren't sure what was going to happen. He was born 4 weeks early. I was induced 4 weeks early because of low amniotic fluid.
Okay.
And when Teddy was born, he was a good weight. But they did the blood work and found that his kidneys were underdeveloped and smaller. And he was stage 3 kidney disease, which basically meant, I think at that time, he had maybe about around 30% kidney function.
So I have to ask you, were there other families or people that were going through something similar? Was this something that you had a group or somebody to lean on or learn from, or was this just, you were thrown out there trying to figure it all out?
Well, initially I was thrown out there, but a really instrumental moment was that I did meet another mom at Children's who I talked to and was going through something similar. In fact, her daughter's situation was even more profound because she was actually on dialysis because she was in kidney failure. And she shared with me, just some of her knowledge. And then she also told me about a group on Facebook. And that was still at a time, I don't even think I was really using Facebook at that time, because now we're talking 15 years ago. Lots of people were on it, of course, but I just wasn't super into it. And I did join this group, and that group is where I have received so much support, but also just so much knowledge, because the moms on that group, sometimes new things and intricacies and nuances that even the doctors and nurses didn't tell us about. So,
well, it's crazy because you're going, I did not have anything similar to your situation, but I was in a high risk pregnancy because I was pregnant with triplets.
of course, yeah.
And so I was going through a lot, and I found a lot of help through Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that just the whole idea when they suggest to you, because they suggested it to me too, oh, you should think about reduction, or they come to you with these clinical ideas behind it, for the betterment of the baby, or for this, or
Right.
the emotional toll that it takes on you, forget your body physically going through the changes and the hormones you're going through as a woman carrying a baby and something you've strived to have, but it's also, emotionally, and to be trying to make these decisions. How did you cope? What did you do?
Well, it was really helpful that my mom was in town. That was such, to me, a higher power moment, that my mom was in town and she was able to support us, my husband at the time, and myself. And I remember my mom, who is pretty, I would say, liberal in her thinking, but also very religious and Catholic, saying to me, whatever you choose, I totally understand, because it is really emotional and really stressful, but also there are a lot of philosophical questions that come up in that moment, which is why I have such respect for women and whatever choices they need to make, because you wonder, is it the best thing for me to keep this pregnancy going? Is it not? Should I have this surgery? Is that too risky? Lots of questions that came up for me. And, again, by God's grace, higher power moment, I was able to not go through those decisions and continue the pregnancy because the bladder relieved itself. So
that is so, that the universe is there working, and
yeah.
there's the powers out there that are helping you. And so, at 36 weeks, you said you delivered.
I delivered at 36 weeks, which they considered preterm, not premature. So,
Right.
there were really no other issues with lung development or anything of that nature. But at the time, the Women's Hospital in Chicago was not connected to the Children's Hospital. So I described this scenario out of the most melodramatic Lifetime movie you've ever seen, or E.T., either one you could think about, that they put my son in this little container to carry him out and put him in a vehicle to get him from one hospital to the other. And I was separated from him, which really makes me want to cry just thinking about it now, because I was like scream crying. Like there's just something so primal about wanting to be with your baby and, in those first days. And that was really, really hard. So his dad, went on, I think he was able to go in the vehicle and, go to the children's hospital. That was pretty close, like just maybe a few miles away, but
Was it
not in a way that I could have seen him. It took me another full day.
right? Were you in the hospital for a few days after delivering?
Yeah, I think it was 2 days. So it was, there was time that I was separated. Then eventually I was able to move over to the Children's Hospital. But at that time, I mean, we have an unbelievable facility now in Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago. But at the time, Children's Memorial Hospital was a bit antiquated, and they had a lot of babies in the same room. You couldn't spend the night. It was really, really sad and stressful at that time. So again, my mom being there, though, my mom flew in, so she's a big part of my story, I would say.
Good. Yeah.
And family, friends, supports. I mean, I've always had really great support, thank God, in my life.
My gosh. So take me through. So the baby's now, at Children's Hospital. He's on a donor list, I would assume, looking for
Yes.
work.
Yes. So basically, he was able to be on the donor list right away and accrue time, which was really a blessing. But fortunately for our son, he was not in kidney failure and did not need dialysis. That was really touch and go for a while there in the beginning, because in order to have a transplant, I think it is you need to be 1 year old and 20 pounds. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it was. And so there was like this race in our mind of trying to get him to the right weight and trying to get to 1 year so that he could potentially get a kidney transplant and could potentially avoid dialysis completely. So what ended up happening was we were able, through medication and not too much intervention other than that, just lots of doctor visits and such. We were able to get Teddy to 9 years old, and then he had a kidney transplant at 9 years old.
Wow.
And we didn't need to go off of the deceased donor list, because when the time came for a transplant, which was really like an outer body experience, I was actually asking people if they would be willing, which is a pretty wild thing to be advertising as a mother. But I did, ask, because we knew that a living donation is really an incredible thing. And it's actually better to have a live donor if you can versus a deceased donor kidney. So I put the word out there. Many people came forward, and it was my first cousin who was the donor. See, Teddy's father and myself both didn't have the right blood type. Teddy's B negative, I'm A positive, and Charlie's dad is A B negative. So he could accept B and O, which is still a lot of people, but neither one of his biological parents. He's our biological son.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So my cousin was 2 daughters of her own. She's somebody that maybe you should interview as well. She's my age. We've always been like kindred spirits and really good friends. She lives in California. We didn't grow up close together or anything like that, but we've always been close. And
Like soul sisters,
yes, 100%. And so she is O positive, I think, but the positive and negative didn't matter. And she, even having 2 daughters of her own, agreed to do this, come from Los Angeles into Chicago. She stayed in Chicago for almost 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we had a whole team. My mom came in, my sister came in. It was, a bunch of us that worked together to kind of care for Teddy, but to also care for Colleen, because they had the surgery the same day, like within hours of each other.
That's just, that's amazing that she was a match, and she was able to do it and save Teddy's life.
She saved his life. Yeah, she did.
So you're really connected forever, Like
I always say to Colleen, like, how can I ever, repay you, thank you enough? Like, there just aren't words to talk about. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. Like, for someone to save your son's life,
mean, that's just amazing. I mean, I'm no stranger to the donor world. My brother-in-law had to have a liver transplant at the age of 30 years old.
Mm.
It's no fun. I mean, there's no
No, it's hard.
God, it's so hard. I mean, thank God he's still around and everything worked out for him. But your path is so unique. So after, your son, got his donation, what made you decide that, hey, I'm going to be a donor? What
Sure, sure. Well, first, I feel like I need to also say that Teddy's donation was March 2nd, 2020. So we know that what happened after that, that was the start of COVID. And he was actually just thinking about like another kind of God moment. And I'm not super religious, but I'm very spiritual. And he was one of the last, if not the last, living donation surgeries that happened actually at our hospital before everything shut down. Because the thing is, the donor is doing an elective surgery, if you think about it, right? And
true?
elective surgeries were,
I
yeah,
think nobody was doing them.
right, because it was considered to be an elective surgery. So we were very, very lucky. But needless to say, things were really uh, anxiety provoking during that time to have a child who was on an incredible amount of immunosuppression during a time where we were all like really worried about what the heck is going on with this pandemic and um, coronavirus at the time, as we were calling it,
Right.
COVID-19. So, for a couple of years, it was really just very focused, I think, on Teddy and making sure that he was okay. But as time went on, I was like in my mid 40s, getting into my later 40s, and I definitely wanted to be a donor for someone. Um, I did find out that a friend of mine who had a son who had already had a kidney transplant, a friend that I had actually met through the Kidney Network, needed another kidney. And I was going to do like a swap situation because I wasn't the right match for this little boy or teen boy. So I was going to donate my kidney to someone, and then that person would donate to him. What ended up happening was that boy ended up getting a kidney off of the deceased donor list, so they no longer needed me. But I had gone through the entire workup at Lurie Children's Hospital. So I said, keep me in the queue, like, and
Please.
and I requested, it's basically two hospitals that do it together. So Lurie Children on the children's side, and then they're affiliated with Northwestern in Chicago. So I said, keep me in the queue. And I asked specifically if I could be a donor for a pediatric patient. And they said yes. So then my time came up. There was someone that needed me. I had no idea, talk about like relinquishing control, which I am not good at because I am a control freak.
Right.
Um,
That's that.
I didn't know who was going to, what their name was, whether it was a boy or a girl, or nothing. I knew no details. And, I went in to do it. And then eventually I did find out that this was a teenage boy. And to my knowledge, he's still doing well.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful, Kristen. It's just, it's like Kismet, your son received a life-saving donation and you were able to give someone else's son a life-saving donation with your kidney. And I just think that's beautiful. And how is the recovery, those going through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was not too bad. Let's see, I think 2 nights in the hospital, the first night of the surgery. And then I had a little complication with, sorry, too much information, but with urination, which actually had nothing to do with the donation. That is probably more of just a Kristen issue because I've had that issue with other surgeries. So they obviously want you to be able to pee on your own before you leave. So
Like you
yeah.
said, with a catheter.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that was a little bit of a nightmare, but that was like that could have happened to me for any surgery. So I took 3 full weeks off of work. I probably could have gone back at 2, but I just, I was still pretty tired. So I took 3 weeks
Full recovery
off of work. But it's
emotional too, right?
right. Oh yeah, and three weeks. I mean, is still like not that bad, all things considered. And then I had, again, my family, the support of my family, which was amazing. But I have to say, like, you know, people say, "Oh, that's such an incredible thing that you did." And yes, it is. But I really feel like for me, I was given the gift with doing this because I just felt like as a mother, I was not complete until I did this. It's very hard to describe, but like if someone did this for my son, my cousin gave her, she really put her life at risk, right? For her son. Every time you have a surgery, it doesn't come without some kind of risk.
Right.
So I just felt like I really wanted to do this for someone else. And I felt like just whole when I did it.
I think this is just so beautiful and such full circle. And, when you think back on it, and that time of your life, I mean, I know you've been through, so much, but you're going through that healing process. And then you're also
Right,
heal, caring for your son.
right.
And so I know it's probably post COVID at that point when you had
Right.
surgery,
Right.
but
This is about 2.5 years ago that I did it. Yeah.
right. So now you've got a teenage son
Hmm.
and all the sports and the things that are going with an active, son
Right.
running around. So how did you handle that? Did you have help? Was your mom there to lean on her? This time did she come and
When I was recovering, you mean, Serena? Yeah. So when I was recovering, definitely my mom and my sister are always like amazing supports to me. Um, Lisa, who our mutual friend, had volunteered to come out and help me. Like, I had, just lots of support. People were making us food, meal trains. I live in a wonderful neighborhood, and Teddy's dad was, a great support for me. So it was really a team effort. I would say, yeah.
that's it's one thing that I learned too when I was struggling is that not to be afraid to ask for help if you need it. That people are more than happy to be there for you and support you, in the community.
100%. And I think like I've had a lot of conversation with one friend in particular about this, and she said to me, I learned like that I need to ask for help because I was talking to her about like people want to help, and you're actually giving them a gift by like asking for help and letting them help you.
Yes.
And I have no problem asking for help because I just cannot do it on my own. I think I shared with you when we talked the first time, but I have ADHD. Like I have executive functioning challenges. Like I need help, and I've accepted that. So
and and that's beautiful. I definitely have ADHD, or at least a portion of it, because
yeah.
I'm moving so fast sometimes I don't remember what I just
Hmm.
did. So I
Hmm.
totally can relate with that. And I love to talk to you a little bit about your mental health work and your
Sure.
advocacy and the amazing company that you work for.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So, can you talk to me about your work at Lyra, how you support mental health in the workplace? How did your whole professional lens shift from being a therapist to navigating the experience that you're now encompassing?
Absolutely. So I worked in a lot of different jobs, and I think lots of us with social work degrees do that. But I worked in community mental health. I worked in the juvenile justice system. I loved that work. That's still very near and dear to my heart. And then I did group practice, private practice. I worked in a school. During the pandemic, obviously telehealth was just becoming a thing. Before that, that really didn't occur. You couldn't bill insurance for telehealth. So I found out about this company, Lyra, really on LinkedIn, and I saw what they were doing. I loved the way that they were incorporating not only therapy itself, but digital tools, like really using technology and clinical knowledge in the best way possible, married together. And so I started working at Lyra as a therapist. So I did that in the pandemic for at the start of, I think it was maybe 2021, maybe it was like end of 2020 that I had interviewed for the job, and I got the job in 2021. But when I started there, I thought to myself, I think there are other things that I can do at this company. I kind of manifested this. And at one point, I found that there was this partnerships job, which is essentially a sales job that became available. And I interviewed for it. I went on multiple interviews, and it was, lots of people, I think, looked at me like, what are you doing, changing your career at this point in your life? But I just wanted to try something different. I always was interested in the idea of selling. I have lots of people in my family that are in sales. And this is something that I'm really passionate about. And I worked at Lyra as a therapist, so felt like I was really selling this. I'm really selling the services that I delivered myself, which I think, I can do. I can explain very authentically and, with credibility because I've done it.
So can you,
So
for our listeners that don't know what
yes,
Lyra is, can you give me a sales pitch and tell me what Lyra does?
100%. And yes, that would help this conversation, wouldn't it? So Lyra is a workforce mental health solution. So I think a lot of people may be familiar with their companies having what's called an EAP, which is an employee assistance program. And traditionally, EAPs have only gone so far. Sometimes they've been difficult to use. Sometimes people don't even know they have them. And sometimes they just don't offer enough. So Lyra was really founded and born out of the idea of providing a better, more comprehensive, more robust solution for organizations so that organizations can provide therapy and mental health coaching to their people, to their family members, but also to the whole company and the organization. So to do things like workshops and strategizing with the entire organization on reducing stigma, supporting with critical incidents, like all of the things that happen in a workplace at every level. Managers are a huge thing. So we do lots to support our managers. And we support organizations really of any size, typically about 500 employees all the way up. So we have lots of really large companies. We have blue collar industry. We have white collar industry. We have, there's really we're totally industry agnostic. So
Wow.
any company that is, interested, we're happy to, explore that partnership.
I think
So,
that's so noble because, of course, most companies have regular health care for their employees,
right.
but mental health, medical was one, but mental health, I think, is becoming more and more in the forefront uh,
Yes.
of people's minds and organizations. And we're actually starting to finally talk about it.
Right.
I mean, when I was growing up, what went on, mentally, whatever stayed there. You didn't talk about
Right.
and a lot of people suffered. I know a lot of women went through a
Right.
lot of mental health issues and had really nowhere to turn. And so I applaud you and Lyra for doing what you're doing. It's amazing. It's an amazing feat, I'm sure, you know.
It is. It's really encouraging when I'm at an event or at a conference and people come up to you and say, I used Lyra, like my spouse and I were going through a difficult patch and we used Lyra, or my son was struggling with substance use and we didn't know what to do and we called Lyra and we got support. Just those very specific stories and situations. And then, of course, because I had the pleasure of working as a therapist at Lyra, I
Yes.
know and have in my mind some of those like client stories. And to have something like this at your fingertips, mental health is complicated and it can be really hard to find a therapist. So because we're using technology to have connected calendars and go through a really quick triage, people can get into care like even the same day,
That's
which is huge.
amazing. Yeah.
Right.
So for leaders, and HR folks that are out there, what's one tangible thing they can do this week, let's say, to better support their employees walking through medical or caregiving crises? What could the HR uh, gurus out there do?
Right, right. No, I think that's I could think of probably a lot of things, but I think one big thing is working with managers. I
Yeah.
think that's huge. And I heard from a lot of the clients that I worked with when I was on the clinical end and working as a therapist at Lyra that they had found out about the benefit through their managers. So I think training managers to, number one, be talking about mental health and not making it a stigma. Like, it's okay to not, it's so cliche, but it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's okay to say if you are struggling, like to just make that an okay thing to do and not have it be punitive in any way, and to train managers that they can and really should be talking about these things and saying these things.
And let employees know that, 'cause I know employees are probably like, I'm not going to go do that because I don't
Right.
want the boss to know that I've got stuff going on.
Right. People are scared. I mean, my gosh. Yeah.
You
Right.
know, it's one of those things. My husband came home in the mail was a flyer from Lyra for his company. He works for TD Bank, and it said, Lyra, for all of your mental health needs. And
Hmm.
it was just so nice, that it's confidential and you don't have to worry that anybody is going to be,
Right.
knowing what you're doing, or if you have children, your parents don't have to be involved in this. This was
Right.
a special line set up for them. And I
Right.
have to tell you, after everything my children and of course we have gone through,
Mhm.
one of my kids got on the phone and they called and they said it was a really nice experience.
Oh, good. Well, that's wonderful to hear. I
Yeah.
love hearing those stories. Yeah, and it's really like it's not it's across the spectrum. Like if you're having a little bit of stress or a difficult interaction with a coworker and you just need some coaching, you can call. Or if you are having suicidal thoughts, which we don't talk about enough, and a lot of people have suicidal thoughts. Lots, so
Every 10 minutes, someone dies by suicide.
right,
And this is
right,
Suicide Prevention Month too. So
right.
really important to get the words out there.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, I'm really proud to work for the organization, and it's been really exciting and gratifying and fun to see these organizations really make mental health a priority, and add a mental health solution like Lyra to their suite of benefits that they're offering their people.
I think that's just amazing. And I marvel at the idea, through the what you've gone through on your journey with your son and your relationship with your cousin, and just the whole ripple effect that it's had on your life, the impact, and how it comes full circle. And then here you are as a mental health professional, and now you're helping to lead the way in advocacy for corporations to open the door wide open for people to come in and do that. I just think it's absolutely extraordinary. I marvel at you. You're amazing, Kristen.
Oh my
Really.
gosh, thank you. I don't know how amazing I am, but thank you very much. And you are like, your positivity is so infectious, Serena. I just love it. I'm
Oh,
just trying to do the best I can one day at a time. So
but that's what
that's
we can do, and we live in the present moment, and we try to be the best people we are, and it matters. It actually changes lives.
mhm.
I mean, as you know and have lived firsthand. So I'm going to change topics a little bit and
Sure.
talk about myth busting and practical guidance. And can you tell us one myth about what living donation that you wish everybody understood going back to being a donor?
Sure. I mean, I think the thing that is probably a myth or something that people don't realize, I'm just going to start very simple, is that you only need one kidney to live. And there are still a lot of people that I don't think realize that. And I wish I had the stat right at my fingertips, but if more people were to donate, and it's a very, very tiny percent of the population that are living donors a year, it's something, I feel like it might be something as small as like 10,000 or something like that. It's a really, really small percentage of the population that donates a kidney each year. But if more people did it, number one, we would save lives,
Right.
and we could almost eliminate, the deceased donor list. If we had more people that came forward. The other thing that I think is so amazing about kidney donation is we have lots of things in the medical world that we don't have solutions for. And this is something that we have a solution, and we have a solution in our own body to be able to help someone else. Is pretty remarkable. One myth, I guess I would also say, is a kidney donation is not a cure. So it is a solution, but my son still has a lot of follow-up, a lot of medical, a lot of medical follow-up, a lot of medications he takes. And there is no guarantee that a kidney donation is going to last a lifetime. Most of the time, it does not last a lifetime. And you're taking anti-rejection medications, which cause other issues and can have side effects. So he's doing amazing. He plays soccer. He's a great student. He has friends. He's a wonderful, wonderful kid. He's 15.
How is he doing with he's doing well after
he's doing great. I mean, he's playing soccer, high contact, wrestling or football probably wouldn't be a good idea for him, but soccer is great. And he really doesn't have any limitations. He has a couple of foods he can't eat. But I think, just the biggest thing is, not that this is something that everyone can and should do, but if you're healthy, I think that the population of people that donate kidneys actually have a longer life expectancy than those that don't. Again, it's a small population of people, but because we're really healthy people and need to go through a lot of testing before we're even determined viable, right, to donate a kidney. Yeah.
And then to keep that, because now you have one kidney and you want to make sure that you eat healthy and clean,
Right.
Which is good. I mean, these are important things,
That's right.
Anyway,
Right.
to live a lovely, long and healthy life.
Right.
Are there any resources, websites, organizations, books you recommend to families starting on this journey?
I would just say the Kidney Foundation is a great resource. And I know that we have a local chapter in Chicago of the Kidney Foundation, so that's a great resource that I would go to. Certainly, just finding different. I'm in a lovely. It's pretty informal, but in a lovely, like I said, group on Facebook. So I think finding those kinds of networks too, finding just for anything, right? Finding people that have gone through the same thing that you have, or maybe have gone through it earlier and have experience and wisdom to share. Those would be good resource.
Yeah, the do's and don'ts are really, really helpful, especially when you're new with this and you're looking for direction.
Right.
If you could hand your past self one note on the day all this began, what would it say? So, just a note to your younger self when you discovered all this.
Everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Because, and I lots of different things that have happened in my life through the last few years. Actually, right before my son had the surgery, I decided to give up alcohol, and I'm still in recovery. I actually just celebrated 6 years of sobriety, which is so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to turn 50 this year. So
you don't look it.
You're very, very kind. Very kind. I think it's the blur effect here. But, I think just that everything is going to be all right, because no matter what happens, it will. I believe that there's a higher power. I believe that there is something operating here that is bigger than myself. And I sort of, I just believe that through that acceptance, you gain more peace, really. So, yeah.
I think it's beautiful. And what do you hope your son or anyone listening takes away from your story today?
I guess I just hope that it can help someone who is going through this journey, that they can know that it is going to be okay and that they will get through it. And even if it's not the journey of kidney disease, the journey with anything, mental health issue, going through recovery for substance use, anything like that. There are resources, there are supports that you can utilize, and it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. I think that's been a big theme in my life, is asking for help, and I've needed help. I've needed help with all of these things I've mentioned today. I've needed help with,
Of course.
whether it is a struggle that I'm having at work, whether it is, um, you know, going into recovery, or whether it was with my son with kidney disease. I've needed help and support, and it's okay, to your listeners, like, it's okay to reach out and ask for support and get help. And people love to help.
Right. And you're never alone when you think you are
Right.
going through these struggles. You feel actual lonely sometimes. But in
For sure.
reality, there is so many people out there that are going through the same thing. And
That's right.
it's really nice to know when you find someone that you can commiserate with a little bit and share the knowledge, or obtain the knowledge if you're looking for it.
100%. And I know that you know that
Firsthand.
all so well, with everything that you've been through, and, just having people that have been through something similar that you can connect with. There's just, like, I don't know if there's anything more powerful than that, than people who have been through that shared experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to change direction again. I'm going to
Okay, sure.
lighter, a little heart.
That's fine.
Is there a song that held you during recovery, or that you would turn to?
I love the song "I Will Survive."
I love that one too.
And I've used that for many times in my life for many different reasons, but I love that song, and in all seriousness, like, I think that she was talking about something pretty specific for the
Yes,
relationship.
but
Gloria Gaynor, right?
Gloria Gaynor, exactly.
Yeah, but it's just such an anthem and such an empowering song, and it's also a great song to sing for karaoke, which I love, because I've been pretty serious in this podcast, Serena, but in actuality, I'm pretty much a goofball, and love to do things like, sing karaoke badly. So yeah, I will survive.
Yes, and you will. And as singing karaoke badly is awesome. I think that's so great, because no one cares. Like, oh, you
Right,
most, when you sing.
right,
Badly. I
right.
think that's beautiful, and I think you should sing as loud and as often as you can. I'm embracing that as I get older. I used to be shy and I wouldn't sing because I have a horrible singing voice. Now I just belt it out.
Right, right. There's this thing that I actually saw it through Facebook. It's this woman who talks about "We Don't Care," and it's to women going through menopause, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's "We Don't Care." But that just reminded me. I'll share it with you at another time. But it just reminded me of that, because it's like, I'm going to sing karaoke badly because I don't care. Like, you get to a certain point in a certain age, and you just don't care.
It's really, you just want to let your light shine.
Right.
And however that is for you, that's what I've decided that I'm going to do. And for me,
Right.
it's whatever brings me joy and brings me love and light and
Right.
happiness, and sharing it and spreading it with whomever will be around me and stay to listen to me sing.
Right. Right.
Do you have a phrase or a mantra that you lean on during tough times?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a few. I think one day at a time is like my biggest one, though, just to take. And sometimes I have to make that less. Sometimes I have to say, um, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, or 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time. Um, and then, just that I can give this to the universe, or I can give this to my higher power. Like, when I'm having a struggle of some sort, that it's okay for me to, you know, um, not handle it all by myself.
Right. And it's so often as women, I mean, we're the nurturers. We are always, trying to take care of everybody, but sometimes we need to take care of ourselves.
Right.
And it's important that we recognize that.
Right.
Um, is there a boundary that you keep to protect your sacred space or your peace that you've instilled and that works for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like boundary. I guess the thing that is important to me to always do is to just, I guess, take care of myself in some way, whether it is through some kind of exercise, which I've just been getting back into a lot of walking. I love Pilates. But also there are certain things like I have a therapist, like that's really important to me. There's still lots of things that I go through and ups and downs, so having that time, um yeah, I think those are really like the main things. I probably don't always have the best boundaries, if I'm being honest, because I do say yes a lot and I do um, tend to want to help people. That's like a good thing. And I think sometimes can be a weakness because I'm more of an empath. So, like, when someone's struggling, I want to help. So, I
Right.
probably sometimes do need to like save some of my energy. But then again, I get so much joy in helping other people, whether it's like somebody at work or whether it's a client or whether it's, a friend or family member.
Oh, you're just a beautiful soul, and I it shines right so brightly, and I'm just so glad we got to meet through Lisa and
Yeah.
agreed to share your story because I know that you're going to help somebody listening today, one of our listeners, with everything that you've gone through. And I usually close out my show with one of my son Scott's poems. He was a poet, and
Oh,
that was the way he would process things.
yeah.
Um, he had given me a little booklet of his poems one Mother's Day, and he in the front of it, he wrote me a poem to dedicate this poem to me, to my mom, who is the best mom in the world.
Oh,
And he said, it goes, "You are my world. You are my life. You are my reason why. You are my love. You are my pride. You are the reason why. You are my thoughts. You are my lies. You are the reason why. You are my queen. You are my lives. You are the reason why. You are the reason. You are my reasons why. And nothing will change my 8 reasons why." And I chose this because it just
oh,
reminded me of your journey and what you've done. And at 15 years old, my son wrote this, but you can feel the passion
mhm.
and the energy. And
That is so beautiful, Serena. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. How
Chris,
beautiful.
you are light. And when you come back to Connecticut, we're going out and we're going to
Yes.
karaoke
Yes. Yes, for sure. We'll get together for sure.
together. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, and to our listeners. If you were moved by today's show, I applaud you if you would join the Living Donors List. It's an amazing thing to do to save a life. If you love our show, please rate us, donate, and thank you. Until next week, we'll see you then. And
Thank you.
SOS, Stories of Survivors, we're
Thank
survivors.
you so much, Serena. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.